Celebrating 49 years on the air, award-winning Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, Food Desert No More, a follow-up encore from Marks, Mississippi. In Southern Gardening, Eddie showcases a few of the many plants native to the state. In the markets, another turn upward, Zach's got special insight from the USDA. And in our feature, a tie-in to Marks, Mississippi, it's the little store that could. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. Good to have you with us again here on Farm Week. Later in the show, in our feature, a story about how crowdfunding saved a local grocery store and kept a small town from being a food desert. But first, an extended encore about a market in Marks, Mississippi, where a food desert was turned around. We're also glad to say that Extension was involved in helping to make the Marks store possible. Here from producer Brian Utley is another example of just how much Extension matters.
If you wanted groceries, if you wanted any type of produce or anything, you had to go out of town to get it. Clinton County has the highest food insecurity rate in the state.
Basically, because we were a food desert, for almost 4 years, there was no grocery store in the entire county. That's a long time.
I grew up here in Whitman County. It's my home, and we have a couple of dollar stores here, but you know, they wasn't a meat market, a produce market there.
There's a lot of people in this county that are over 65, and they were having to pay people to drive them to the grocery store to and from.
It happened to me one weekend. I needed a lettuce to make a salad, and I thought about I got to go to Batesville just to get a lettuce, so I just did it without the salad that weekend.
Nobody can, make daily trips to the grocery store when it's 20 miles away. Right now, oh, I forgot I don't have this for supper. Let me run to the grocery store, a mile away, is so beneficial.
I love seeing ribbon cutting. It's very exciting. The Extension Service, we may not create a job ourselves. I certainly did not open a grocery store, but we were a part of the puzzle.
With Dr. Rachel Carter, who's part of the Extension program at Mississippi State University, I reached out to her because I went on your website and read about how the Extension helped communities. Getting the grocery store open was a high priority for the Board of Supervisors and for the Board of Aldermen with the city. And so she was able to give me statistics that this area could support a grocery store, looking at the data.
Marks is such a small town. When you look at a town at that size, you actually have to look beyond the city limits. You have to look at the whole county, but you also have to look at what we call the trade area, which is where people tend to shop and basically form a community.
We have a demographic of people with high diabetes, heart issues, just a lot of health disparities. And I think that was pointed out in the research that was done through the Extension.
One reason a grocery store in a rural community is such a big deal and such an important deal is that it can help address health issues, because people need to have access to healthy food options and fresh food options in order to make healthy choices. And so that's a huge issue with keeping a small town together, is having a local grocery store.
Good morning.
It was a big thing, and I kind of expected a lot of people. I have a lot of friends just from the Delta that would want to come and, congratulate me, whatever. But I didn't have any idea that there would be like 4 different television stations there. But that was a little bit on the surprising thing. And
I think we got the right man in the grocery store. He has a grocery store in Tunica that he opened and was running and said he was looking to open another one. He just wasn't exactly sure where. So when the building came up for sale, they really started courting him.
I think we have a great opportunity here. It's the only store in town, the only store in the county for that reason. There have been stores here before that didn't make it, so I have to I have to say to myself, what do I need to do that no one else did? And I mean, I'll tell everybody I don't hunt, I don't fish, I don't golf, but I really enjoy what I do, and no one has to make me go to work, so I want to be there every single day.
It took the entire community, and I will tell you that a whole bunch of people never thought it would come to pass. But it is wonderful. I can tell you it's nicer than I've ever seen that grocery store.
Best in town, this the place. This was at the best in town.
I really enjoy taking care of customers. You can't get too busy for me. I mean, just say if the store can hold 300 people, bring in 500, I don't care. I've done this all my life, and if I get the people around me, it's gonna work. I mentioned to you that it's not me, it's the people that make the difference.
It's providing jobs. I mean, like, he only brought 2 people from Tunica, so everybody else that he's hired are locals. So it's an economic impact, a positive economic impact where, that's huge for Marks, Quitman County in general.
It's bringing jobs, opportunities for people to work. Maybe Quitman County is going to come back, move forward, bring other opportunities here in the area. Since that store opened, the traffic have picked up in Quitman County. It's going to be a tax base for the town of Marks to really do improvement.
It brings me to tears to see the progress. With the opening of the grocery store, we got about 40 jobs. It is definitely a ray of hope, a spark of hope to have jobs come into the community.
In Southern Gardening this week, plants that are native to Mississippi. Eddie Smith is north of Starkville with a few examples, any one of which would look great in your landscape.
Southern Gardening is back at Camp Creek Native Plants in New Albany, Mississippi, continuing our celebration of Native Plant Month. Let's explore some of their unique native plants. Golden ragwort features semi-evergreen foliage with deep green, heart-shaped basal leaves that have a striking purple underside, adding extra visual interest. In early spring, flower buds emerge and open to reveal bright yellow, daisy-like blooms. Walter's violet, also known as prostrate blue violet, displays small, delicate lavender to purple flowers in early to mid-spring, bringing a subtle splash of color to shaded woodland areas. The blooms resemble classic violet flowers with 5 petals and dark purple veins that help guide pollinators toward the center. One of its distinctive traits is its small, round to heart-shaped leaves, often tinged with a hint of purple on the underside. Wood sedum, or little leaf stonecrop, is a hardy, low-growing native perennial that reaches 4 to 6 inches tall and spreads up to 12 inches wide, making it an excellent choice for creating a lush carpet of foliage. Characterized by its small, succulent, rounded leaves that are light green and sometimes take on a reddish tint in cooler months, wood sedum can tolerate periods of drought once established. All of these native plants thrive in shaded areas of the landscape. I'm Eddie Smith, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a short break right here, but stick around. Coming up in our Farm Week feature, a heartwarming story about the little store that could. In Gowrie, Iowa, though it could be anywhere, the story of a small grocery saved by the townspeople. Gowrie is a food desert and the store was the only one left. But before it dried up and blew away, a crowd saved it, and now friends gather every morning and talk about what almost was. Saving the store by themselves, coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
In Mississippi, let's get moving. Join the Magnolia Moves Activity Challenge. The Mississippi State University Extension Service is offering this virtual challenge for individuals of any age or teams of family, colleagues, students, church members, or any other group. Join the 6-week April the 20th through May 31st challenge at no cost, and you'll set your own goals for becoming more active and eating healthier. You'll download the MoveSpring app or use the desktop version. Register for Magnolia Moves, and with automatic tracking, your movements and activities will be captured automatically to give you a clear, real-time view of your progress and achievements. Also, Extension will hold weekly prize drawings for participation across 5 different age categories. So join us and get fit and feel better, eat healthier, manage your weight, and exercise regularly. Magnolia Moves makes fitness accessible, practical, and enjoyable for everyone. Visit msuext.ms/Magnolia Moves to learn more, ask questions, and register today.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith. I believe in my own work and in the opportunity I have to make my life useful to humanity. I believe that education is a lifelong process, and the greatest university is the home. That my success as a teacher is proportional to those qualities of mind and spirit that give me welcome entrance to the homes of the families that I serve. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
Time for the market report, another turn to the upside.
That's right, Mike. We also dig into some USDA reports and a look into row crops. But first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then, this month's cattle on feed among several USDA reports. What do they have to say? And finally, in our row report, a market analyst tells us what's really moving the corn markets. So, markets closed, this time moving up. Livestock down while row crops split. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, cotton up 4.5 cents, nearly a 6% increase from the previous week. The week's biggest loss, lean hogs, down over 2.5 cents, more than a 2.5% decrease from the previous week. So, several USDA reports recently came out updating us on our livestock situation and how planting season is progressing. In short, cattle on feed down slightly from last year, egg production up, and planting is just underway. Here's the details. In this month's cattle on feed report, cattle and calves on feed for the slaughter market, about 11.5 million head, 1% down from last year. Of that inventory, about 7.25 million are steers and steer calves. Heifers and heifer calves, over 4.25 million head. Placements in feedlots during March totaled nearly 1.75 million head, 7% down from last year. Placements were the second lowest for March since the series began in 1996. Marketings of fed cattle during March totaled over 1.5 million head, 6% less than last year. Marketings were the second lowest for March since the series began in 96. Other disappearance totaled 50,000 head, 9% below last year. In the chickens and eggs report, March egg production totaled nearly 9.25 billion, up 5% from last year. Production included nearly 8 billion table eggs and over 1.25 billion hatching eggs. Average number of layers during March, 376 million, up 5% from last year. Total layers in the U.S. at the beginning of this month totaled 373 million, up 4% from last year. Rate of lay per day averaged about 79 eggs per 100 layers, up slightly from last year. In the crop progress report, the 18 highest corn-producing states so far have planted 11% of corn acreage, the same as last year and 2% above the 5-year average. The 18 highest soybean producing states so far have planted 12% of soy acreage, 5% higher than last year and 7% higher than the 5-year average. The 15 highest cotton producing states so far have planted 11% of cotton acreage, 1% higher than last year and the 5-year average. This week in our row report, we focus a bit on corn. Price has been staying somewhat consistent and not moving too far. Analyst Ted Seifert says that has to do with ample supplies in the world and competition from South America.
There's a couple things that have been holding corn back. One is we had a 17 billion bushel crop last year, according to the USDA. And there's a lot of bushels that we have to get through before we can get really excited about corn. We've had wonderful demand, but when you have a 17 billion bushel crop, there's a lead time where we have to chew through that supply of corn. So that's part of it. Also, I think the funds got a little bit too long, a little bit too early, and maybe for the wrong reasons, right? They got excited about the energy portion of corn based on, the war in Iran and Strait of Hormuz being closed. And, oh, wow, energies are going through the roof. And while corn does have a significant portion of its balance sheet that is dedicated to energies in the form of ethanol, you cannot put raw corn kernels into a gas tank and run a car, right? There's a process that has to happen. Corn has to be ground into ethanol, just like soybeans have to be processed into soybean meal and oil. It's not something that you can go from one day to the next and say, oh, we're going to double our output of ethanol. It's just not a thing. And I think Wall Street's maybe realized that. They've trimmed some of their bullish bets on corn. And I think this is now a much more healthy atmosphere or climate to maybe see a more seasonal rally for corn going into our planting season in the first half of our growing season. So I like what's happening in corn. We've come back off the highs. I think we're set up for good things to come maybe going forward. I think the activity that we saw this week kind of feels like a bit of a bottom. The one potential monkey wrench that we have in this whole equation is South America. I mean, it's always South America. But in particular, you look at what the recent estimates for Argentina have been coming from the Argentinian reporting agencies, namely the Rosario Grain Exchange and the Buenos Aires Grain Exchange. And oh boy, are they very aggressively increasing that Argentinian crop. Part of that is because they got better weather from about middle of February on. Another part of that is they're citing increased acreage, about 4% higher than what they had originally thought. Which, by the way, if that sounds familiar, you just have to go back to our last growing season to see how that happens. And that's wild. It's wild to me to think that can happen in two of the major exporters in two consecutive crops, where acreage is just so much bigger than what was originally expected. But either way, you have the Buenos Aires Grain Exchange at 62 million metric tons as of their last estimate, which was earlier in the week. That's 10 million metric tons higher than the USDA. And you have the Rosario Grain Exchange at 67 million metric tons, 15 million metric tons higher than the USDA. And Argentina is important because while they don't grow as much corn as Brazil, they are a very big exporter of corn, and they will be competition for us at the very tail end of our marketing year and going into the next.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. Seems like the global situation will continue to affect row crop prices here at home while livestock's still on a rebound. Mike?
Thanks, Zach. In the small town of Gowrie, the little store that could is more than just a place to buy milk. It's the heart of the community. When the town faced becoming a food desert, 60 neighbors stepped up to buy it themselves. Now, from daily numbers games to federal grants, they're proving that keeping a local staple alive takes a village.
In Gowrie, for more than 30 years, farmers, lawyers, bankers, and more have been meeting every morning to have coffee and play a simple game.
We call it the numbers game. And I have a notebook here, and I write down the numbers as I run the show. The numbers determine how many people actually show up. So if there's 6 of us, I pick a number between 1 and 600. And we start from the previous day. Whoever got stuck the previous day, we start with them.
666.
And then we go around.
781.
The numbers keep getting narrower and narrower.
805.
And then somebody will pick the number I picked, and they get stuck.
799. Thank you, burger.
When you get stuck, you can give me the money and everybody's coffee. If there's 12 of us, you have to pay $12.
While this long-standing tradition may have thinned local pocketbooks,
Here it is, $12.
the winners have fortified community institutions, including the grocery store that hosts the crew.
So they meet every morning from 7 to about 9. We give them a place to sit and have their coffee, and they give it back to us tenfold.
And at the end of the month, the money goes to Heartland Bank, put in a special account. Then money is given out to usually the grocery store, roller rink, pool, whatever needs, we feel fit to give to.
There's always been a store in Gowrie. That's something that we often take for granted. But yes, in a small town, it is crucial to have, and it is hard as heck to keep open.
Founded in the mid-1800s, at one time, Gowrie had 3 grocery stores as 4 separate train lines stopped in town. Today, only Market on Market remains. And after being a family-run business for more than half a century, the fate of the store became uncertain.
Jeff Peterson had ran the store from about 1986 to 2018. Before that, his dad ran the store, Jamboree. They did sell it to a different individual who had a chain of stores, and that didn't last very long. So from 2018 to 2019 is when we started to see things trend down. We saw trucks weren't coming in. We weren't getting the milk, the bread, the eggs, the produce. All signs were pointing towards closure.
Without its grocery store, Gowrie is what the USDA calls a food desert, or a community with limited access to affordable and nutritious food. First recognized by the federal government in 2008, food deserts are found across the United States, in big cities to small towns.
So for Gowrie, having a grocery store, it is so important because there is no other grocery stores within a 30-mile drive. It's a 30-minute drive to get to Fort Dodge. It's a 30-minute drive to get to Jefferson. It's a 30-minute drive to Ogden. So we're kind of the center of this radius that does not have access to a grocery store.
Gary's about 1,000 people. There's people in town that they can't get to other grocery stores. There are a lot of times they're older people and they don't get the whole online thing. And this is a place for them to come and they meet their friends and they shop and they laugh. And, we try and make it as welcoming as we can.
So when we determined that we could potentially be next, and we started getting involved in how do we save our grocery store, the timing was so short that we were really concerned we wouldn't be able to find a new buyer. So that's when we decided we needed to go to the community.
In early January 2020, community leaders held a public meeting in front of a standing room only crowd. More than 150 people showed up to learn a new buyer was unlikely to be found, and keeping the store open would require community support. With a shutdown weeks away, the town would need to form an LLC and raise $250,000 to buy the building, equipment, and stock the shelves.
We were very clear that that was not necessarily going to be a money-making situation. It was to keep the business that we have open.
It's for profit, but we're not making a huge profit. We were very straightforward with them and said, this is not a investment that you're going to see a return on.
But I think a lot of people were very happy about the idea that I'm investing in the future of the community.
9 days after the initial community meeting, 60 people came forward to donate to the cause and officially become the new owners of the soon-to-be-named Market on Market grocery store. In just over a week, Gowrie went from the brink of becoming a food desert to raising $250,000 and saving a town staple.
It was right after we purchased the store. I was working here late at night trying to get things cleaned up, and I had a call from my youngest daughter. And she said, did we do it? And I said, do what? She said, did we save the store? And I said, we did it.
Yep, there. What was that?
Half a decade later, Market on Market is still open. However, the store's success required federal grants, zero-interest loans, And surprisingly, Gowrie being recognized as a food desert allowed the store to partner with a nonprofit fundraising arm, which has made the store viable.
Without that fund, we would have been closed a long time ago. We've had over $100,000 given to that foundation that we've been able to replace our roof, our heating. We've been able to update our point of sale system. We've received over $15,000, I think, in the last 3 years from the coffee guys.
And the grocery stores needed help, and we have given them a lot of money over the last many years. We enjoy doing it, and everybody has fun. It ain't fun when you get stuck and you have to pay, but there's guys been playing for 30, 40 years. And it's kind of a cool thing that we like to do.
Gotta love a happy ending. Great story. Well, next week, another story about folks who got the right kind of help, this one after a natural disaster.
We travel back to a heartbreak tornado on Easter Sunday in Walthall County, Mississippi. They were close to the land, loving it, they say, with all their hearts. But when they looked outside, they thought a bomb had gone off. Like that, they lost 200 acres of timber.
But they recovered and, with the county agent's help, learned more about just how extension matters. That's next time on Farm Week. Before we go, a quick story. You might remember USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins visiting here at Mississippi State back in August.
Just a few days ago, she was in South Texas to help break ground on a new facility to fight the New World screwworm.
The plan is to permanently eradicate the pest which threatens livestock, slowly making its way to the U.S. We'll keep you updated.
Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next week. Thanks for watching.